Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, someone who knows the Lux Life, and Raso, a freelance editor who heads the urban lifestyle site Lux Life NYC, who is here to talk about what I consider a huge part of this podcast foundation, and that's Tiger Beat. Why, you may ask? She was a former editor of the magazine and even headed up Tiger Beat Rock back in the 80s. I'm so excited to dig into this. Anne, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Tiger Beat is such a foundation of my life, of this podcast. So thrilled to talk to you and have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Before we get into Tiger Beat of it all, can you tell people where they can find you online?
Yes. Well, I'm on Instagram at Ann_Raso. I'm on Facebook, but it's too hard to say the whole long, URL. So I can't say that. I'm at Ann241 on X. And that's about it. And if you want to email me, I'm just araso@aol.com.
All right. Well, we'll put all that in the link below, in the information below. But so you studied at the University of Missouri, earned 2 degrees, and then headed out into the real world. I entered freelancing about, I want to say like probably 2009, 2010. And it was like all online by then, just emailing random sites, hoping to get hired. But how did you go about landing at Tiger Beat back in the day?
Well, it's nothing very interesting. It is that I just answered an ad in the Sunday New York Times, which is where you went for jobs. It was pretty much the only place for jobs once you got out of college back in the 80s. Unless you knew someone. It's either you look at the Times classified every Sunday or you get an in with someone. And I wasn't doing too well. I just had an in with the Museum of Modern Art for like assistant curator, and I had lunch with a guy who interviewed me, and I didn't get the job because I also have a degree in art history.
Mhm.
And that was it. That was the only time I knew anyone who could help me, and it didn't help. Getting the referral to that job did not help. So this was just, sorry to be long-winded, this was just an ad in the New York Times.
And what came first for you, Tiger Beat Rock or Tiger Beat?
Okay, well, you have to remember it was an office that moved from Hollywood when Tiger Beat was in its prime to a new owner who was out in Crushgasm, New Jersey. So we moved to a really suburban place. I wasn't with the company, but they restaffed pretty much everyone. Like only a couple art directors came and a managing editor who only stayed a year. So it was pretty much like 90% new staff. So we were all working on each other's magazines. There was an editor of Tiger Beat, and I was the associate editor. And then at the same time, we'd have all these bi-monthlies like Tiger Beat Star, which was Tiger Beat Spec back in the day, if you can remember that. It'd be like one-shot tributes to different stars. And then they started Tiger Beat Rock after 6 months. So I was the editor of Tiger Beat Rock, which ended up being monthly. Tiger Beat Star, which was monthly, and then I also had to co-edit Tiger Beat, so it was really a lot of writing. Probably wrote like 40 stories a month.
Oh my God. That's a lot. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
think I clocked in maybe like 20 a month at my high, but that's 40. Wow. So Tiger Beat Rock is something I'd never heard of. And I'm sad because this is something I probably would have loved around 13 when I got into like the pop punk realm of the 2000s. What artist sort of inspired the creation of that iteration of Tiger Beat at the time?
Okay, I don't think it lasted into the 2000s.
No, no. I think
Definitely it lasted into the 90s, okay? It couldn't have gone past 1998. I don't know, but what was your question about that?
What artists were around that were kind of inspiring Tiger Beat to explore like the rock genre?
Well, let me think about that. There was Duran at that time, who was the big group, right? And then Culture Club.
Okay. And then when I looked it up, it seemed as though those covers weren't as like Tiger Beat, weren't as teeny bopper magazine. Was that like a conscious decision to decipher it more as like maybe a mature, like a more mature read?
That's a good question. Hmm. No, I don't think so. I think that these were groups, maybe a kid's a couple years older, like 15, 16, maybe. But my thought is that people bought it because they loved Duran Duran so much, they gave another outlet for us to put them in. And honestly, it was very, very, very mixed. At that time, like heavy metal was starting up, and I get pitched heavy metal people left and right. So who would be like teeny bopper acts, heavy metal, and then we'd have Looking Back with some really old star like Davy Jones or something. So a mix. And there were some other groups underneath it that girls thought were cute, like Loverboy. I remember I also interviewed the Romantics, but nobody else was near what Duran Duran was.
Mhm. How crazy were those interviews at the time?
Not really crazy. Okay, I have to tell you this. Unless it was a really upcoming act
Mhm.
with Tiger Beat, unless it was really like a new band or a new kid on TV or in film, you couldn't get an interview with anyone except once a year. These people did not want to be in there.
Oh.
So you really had to stretch the interviews. We'd have a transcriptionist in the office who would transcribe the interviews, and a copy would land on all of our desks, and we'd circle what we used so we didn't repeat. So the
Wow.
editors or whoever's writing would pass it back and forth or hold it till the next person has, like, say, a Duran Duran assignment.
Mhm.
And then we, maybe some people we got twice a year, but that's what we worked from. And we worked from other magazine articles and sources. We just kind of paraphrased what we saw. Quotes you can lift from another article if you attribute them. So we did say, John Taylor told Vogue magazine. We'd fill them out with that. So it's partial research, partial taking quotes from other articles, and then partially our interviews.
So you guys kind of had to construct like a big puzzle in the end.
Yeah, so it was very difficult. And
Okay.
really, nobody wanted to be in these magazines except in the rock magazines. Okay, really unknown people you could get who want to be teen stars, you could get for either. Okay. And then the up and coming metal stars and R&B stars were all happy to do interviews. You'd hear from their PR people all the time. And I also worked on our African American magazines.
Mhm.
Well, Right On was the one they had. There
Mhm.
might have been a spinoff. I do one or two pieces a month for them. And honestly, the R&B stars gave good access. I don't know why that is.
Probably because I think MTV at the time wasn't playing the black artists, so they didn't really have more the platforms until Michael Jackson kind of burst through on the channel. So maybe that was
Right. We had to write about him without any access. He was the only person you
I
couldn't get.
was.
Although I did sit with him one day at the Tavern on the Green after a press conference there for the Victory Tour or whatever it was.
Oh.
I couldn't just like start interviewing him. I mean, I couldn't. I think someone would have come and grabbed me, which has happened. Some places, like there's control freak PR people who see you take out a tape recorder and they'll pull you away. And I think PR people got even worse, especially with big stars. They really are difficult plus, unless they have a really unknown act. So anyway, what the point of that was everyone except Michael Jackson was willing to do interviews in the R&B world.
Interesting. And as for Tiger Beat, it did debut back in like 1965, and it's synonymous with this like prepubescent experience, and it really helped like fan the flames of fanatics over the years, and did so until 2019. Unfortunately, not around anymore. You worked at the magazine in the 80s. Did you leave right before New Kids on the Block blew up, or did you get some of that?
Yes, I did their bio for the record company. In
Oh,
other words, you know what a bio is. They
yeah.
send it out with the record.
Mhm.
So I went up to Boston to interview them for that, and they were still, a couple of them were still working in sneaker stores. So they recorded it, but weren't making money yet somehow. So anyway, um, let's see. So yeah, so I really got into that. I had a couple of books on the New Kids on the Block on the bestseller list. I was only with Tiger Beat 2 years, and then I moved on to freelance writing. The editor of Tiger Beat left before me that I was working with. She moved on to a magazine called Video Rock Stars. It was, yeah, I think it was called Video Rock Stars, and I worked for her, and we had a like overlap between the Tiger Beat Rock people and straight rock and roll people. So at the same time, I was editing unknown teen magazines. I was a freelancer for the company that owned Rock Scene. I wrote for Rock Scene, but I edited their teen magazines that were not very famous. You know, I ended up working for many other teen national publications that are not famous or well known at all.
Yeah,
So
like I think it was like Tutti Frutti, Mean Guys, Teen Beam.
yes. So I did freelance for Teen Beat. When editors got sick or something, I'd go in there and write. Say that started in 1985. I wrote for all these rock magazines, including like Video Rock Stars that the former Tiger Beat editor worked on. I think I still did some writing, maybe, yes, for Tiger Beat Rock. The new editor of Tiger Beat somehow worked on that, and I'd freelance for her, say, up until the 90s at some point. So I was working for 12 different places.
As one does when they freelance. You're just
Yes, but I was a freelance editor as well. So at one point in time, I was editing these magazines, these teen magazines that were all about the New Kids on the Block. And they were for different companies that are not well known. And that went on a long time, as much as 20 years. It depends on the magazine. But at one point in time, I was editing 3 different teen magazines. When the New Kids were that hot that I had 3 different full-time editor jobs, but I wasn't in the office. And it was like so impossible. I had to write the whole things.
oh my god.
And, you know, I'd have to drop off copy. And I got so lucky that 2 were in the same building. 2 of the companies were in the same building. And the third one was like not too far away, like within 10 blocks. So I'd bring in all my stories. You should have typed manuscripts back then. So I'd run, you know, like that. So that was the most money I ever made. I was writing New Kids on the Block books, like little quickie books, and I got no royalties, and one went on the New York Times bestseller list, so that's upsetting. And editing at least 3 teen magazines that was full of New Kids on the Block at the time.
Dang. Were they like those books that are kind of like at the book fairs, like the quick little bio?
I didn't get more than a week to write any of them.
Oh my, a week.
Yes. So they were uber quickies and uber small. Like they're probably 100 pages or something like that. And it was a lot of easy stuff to do, like 200 New Kids on the Block facts. What kind of girls does Joey like? You know, like,
But we ate those up. I'm not a New Kids, I'm like a generation later, so I'm Backstreet Boys, and my mom spent a lot of money on those little books that are kind of like, why do we need this? But I did need them. They're crucial to my life.
mm-hmm.
So, oh, go ahead.
I kind of end with New Direction in that field,
Oh,
just FYI. So I probably left teen stuff behind about 12 years ago. So I was in it solid 30 years.
I was going to say, I think
Over 30, probably exactly 30 years in that field as either a teen magazine writer or editor.
I was gonna say, I think maybe BTS was kind of the last big boy band, but today we kind of utilize social media to watch trends, and it's really easy to see like second by second what's in and what's out. However, before that, all we had were these magazines. We based kind of what was popular who as like on the cover, like who was had the bigger pictures, you know? We're like, oh, Britney Spears is like little right now, but then in a few months she's huge. How did you guys kind of work behind the scenes to know like what was the pulse of teen culture? Like, did you look at the record sales? Was it just who sent you stuff?
Okay,
Radio?
publishers would always look at the Billboard charts, you know, or they get the Hollywood Reporter, whatever. But with the bands, they'd look on the charts. And then you would see stuff on the news if it got to be like really crazy, where people were waiting online overnight for tickets and stuff, and it was a young group. You kind of got a vibe then.
Mhm.
But the publisher basically chose, and also the record companies, when they had a teen group, they would call you. They would call you on every one of them, and some of them did not take off. When the Backstreet Boys were out, there were all these different ones
Mhm.
that were lesser known, and I'm really struggling to think of them right now.
Oh,
But there were
I
always
remember them.
about 6 or 7 other ones that
Mhm.
we'd always write about that never got to be big.
I
Um,
always like that though because you guys always usually put their picture on the back of the better guys. So I'd be like, okay, good. I don't have to choose which picture to get.
well, there's. I have to think some of those other groups. Before there was an English boy band with Robbie Williams. Now, what was that? I wrote about them a long time, and now I'm senile, so I can't tell you. But they would be in the issues with Backstreet Boys.
Mhm.
And then there was that group that's a trio, and I think all three of them died. Do you know who I'm talking about? They were
LFO, wait, have one more left.
the funniest guys ever.
Oh, really?
Oh my god. They were so hysterical. I couldn't even handle it. They were the funniest people I ever met. Are all three dead or just two of them?
Just two.
So sad.
Ah, the cancer for both
Yeah,
too.
no, like what? Like before 30 they died? I don't know how
One
old
was really like probably before 30 and one was in the last like I want to say 5 or 10 years. Like it was more recent. But yeah, that was really sad. They were young. I do want to know like what was the do you remember the impact of MTV on the magazines? Was that a big like oh, now we have to pay attention to
I
this?
would say yes, but there wasn't a lot of teeny boppers on there. So yes, for the rock magazines that I worked on over the years, especially when you started to get into heavy metal.
Mhm.
Um, but not before. Like I don't remember how often the New Kids on the Block were in rotation there. But with the metal stuff, which they started 85, 86, I worked for a lot of the big heavy metal magazines at the same time I was doing, teeny bop stuff. And there were never that many big teeny bop groups. So I'm going to say MTV, not nearly as much on the boy bands.
Mhm. Did you guys ever feel like curators of pop culture? Like when you were doing these jobs? Like you guys kind of guide
No.
people? No, they told you what to write.
Well, look at I had to write about who I was pitched, who the publisher saw on the Billboard chart. And then with TV people, it's a little harder to gauge. Like when I started to Tiger Beat, Rob Lowe was hot. Like there was a few movie stars, Ralph Macchio.
Oh, like the Brat Pack.
They were already big by the time I got there, and I wouldn't have known diddly squat about them. I didn't hear of them.
Hmm.
Or John Stamos also did not even hear of those three until I got my Tiger Beat job. And Rick Springfield, they were all the incoming ones. When I came there, those were the hot ones.
I mean, they are very hot. I give them that for the 80s. So I do want like Tiger Beat was done by 2019 because of I think the internet. We all know print magazine kind of went away, and I just don't think kids care about having physical media because they just don't know. what it is. They don't care about magazines, DVDs, things like that, and which makes me really sad for a multitude of reasons. As someone who worked in the industry before it migrated online, how does it make you feel that, to see everything occupying like the internet? Do you miss print media?
Oh, well, the internet is a great research tool, and you know who's hot instantly.
Hmm.
You don't have like, a publisher going, well, look at this group just came out, their album's already at number 40, and the PR people have, them doing a lot of things, so let's write about them. It's not going to be like that. You're going to see them instantly on somewhere. You'll see them. Sometimes you see them on mainstream TV, like those concerts they have on NBC. What is that? Really early in the morning. What is that? Good Morning America.
Yeah, like that Today
You
Show.
see, like they do diversify the type of groups they put on there. But after BTS, I don't think there was ever a boy band again.
Hasn't been one.
I stopped right before they came out, kind of like I end around the end of 2012. We had like I started writing about this group called like what was it, 7 seconds to summer,
Oh,
something
five
like
seconds. Yeah.
5 seconds, excuse me. Yeah, that's where it ended for me.
Yeah, I was a little too. I had friends that love One Direction, but I went with my friend because she had an extra ticket, and I was like, "We are too old to be here, girl. Like, this is not our thing." So I kind of bowed out. I know some One Direction songs. 5 Seconds to Summer opened that tour, and I was like, "Not for
Yes.
me, but this is cute." Another thing I want to ask: How did you guys have anything to do with the iconic like photo shoots of the magazines? Because that's also something that is kind of like an art form in it within itself. Like the with the stuffed animals or holding flowers, very cheesy poses that we love when we're 12.
Yes, but there were not that many photo shoots with the big stars. But we had a photographer who had a studio. There were a couple different photographers that we used. And yes, there was standard things we always did. Again, we didn't have good access, but when we did, if I went to the person's shoot, there'd be things that you would do. So you have a million photos with different themes to match your stories in the future. So this is mainly not so much the rock groups, but the teen stars. There would be things that cover every holiday. You'd have them put on a Santa hat at the shoot. You'd have them holding flowers from like some sort of romance theme story. You had them like have a Halloween costume on, like you know, give them fangs, fake fangs, like you had. Oh, they'd also have to hold up products for
Mm,
giveaways.
okay.
So let's see. There was one other thing we had to do. They had to change clothes like 3 times, or maybe more in some cases. So you had a good diversity of shoots for pinups. You can't just keep using the
Mhm.
same shoot and the same clothes. They changed the color backdrop, and the guys changed their clothes. Again, we didn't get the people we needed very often. We bought from the big photo agencies. There's probably 2 left in this world now, but back then there were like 8 or 10 we worked with in New York.
Oh, wow.
And they'd shoot the concerts. They'd shoot them like on red carpet,
Hmm.
on the red carpet, and coming out of hotels like Candids, those kind of things. Not that the photo agencies had good access. Maybe one did. I believe that some people did shoots with some of the bigger photography uh, companies, and they probably got a piece of the profit. That's what I think. But generally, we were buying concert shots, paparazzi, I guess is the best way to call the rest of it. And we didn't get too many shoots, let's put it that way. But when you get someone up and coming, you have to do that. You have to like hand them a bunch of stuff. It could last you like a full year. We did that with Justin Bieber, and honestly, he got so hot. This was later on with another magazine. He got hot really fast. He
Yeah.
got hot really fast, and you could tell he like hated doing this.
Uh, I think, yeah, you can tell now that maybe it wasn't the right path for him. He seems kind of.
No, he like dropped my phone, my friend said it was intentionally on the ground. I don't know how he got it, but suddenly he has it in his hand and he drops it. And I couldn't understand what was happening. And my friend's like, I think he did it intentionally because he didn't want to be there.
Huh.
And I'm like, I don't know. It's like weird. I think I dropped it. He picked it up, then he dropped it. Something like that. It was so bizarre.
Hmm.
I didn't think twice about it. I thought it fell out of his hand, but I think my friend, who was the other editor, was right. He just hated doing this so much for 4 hours that he just did that.
Oh. Well, hopefully he doesn't have to do it much now. He doesn't really do much anymore musically.
I don't know what he does at all.
He's
I
a
guess.
dad now. That's all he does. I don't think he's doing music. I think he's fine. Maybe he's done. Maybe he's done. I don't know. But when I was thinking about all this, I realized that I do have to thank the likes of Tiger Beat and teen magazines in like general for helping me when it came to reading because I really invested time to read these articles about my favorite boy bands. What was I was gonna say that was something I never really thought of, like how magazines like Tiger Beat probably helped as many kids love to read as like Reading Rainbow. Is that something you've ever thought about? Like you introduced reading to a lot of kids that maybe wouldn't have read.
Well, that's interesting. I don't think any of the readers were under 9. It was like hardcore age 9 to 12, and I'm assuming they probably read a lot anyway. I could be wrong.
I don't know, it's hard. Well, nowadays I would love to see magazines come back because kids we're having a problem with the literacy right now. And I work at a school, and I know it's really tough with the 9 to 12 right now. Those grades, getting them to actually like reading and not just playing Roblox on the phone.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I would think they'd have to read a lot for their classes.
There's the defiance issue and just not interested because if they could do it on their phone, I think they'd be more interested. But reading books, it's not something I see. Like we have the book fair, and I'm more excited than they are. I'm like, oh my God, the Scholastic Book Fair's here. And they're like, I just want a fidget spinner or like, I'm like, what? Get a book, get a Goosebumps book, get a Babysitter's Club, get something.
Yeah, I think you probably are right. I think the kids just read what they want on the internet, like they do a search.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I do
I
read
know.
like one book a month, but I generally read up on subjects I like online or listen to podcasts or videos. Like I follow a lot of true crime cases.
Mm.
So I'll like look at a lot of articles online about cold cases and also podcasts. And I also read, the only reading I do is celebrity bios.
Oh
You
my
know,
God, me too. Those are like my favorite. Memoirs are my favorite.
oh yeah, I agree. I agree. So I probably read one memoir a month and that's it for me. And everything else is on the internet. So I can understand kids not being into books anymore.
Like I get it, but I wish it wasn't so. But Anne, we've talked a lot about Tiger Beat, but I do want to talk more about what you have going on. You're a champ when it comes to the publishing industry and have since gone on to do your own thing. You have Lux Life NYC. What pushed you to want to branch out and dive into this like lifestyle website?
Okay, well, when you get older, you kind of get tossed out of the teen business. Plus, it doesn't really exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely felt the squeeze. The last magazine company I worked for, I was replaced with a 19-year-old.
Oh.
So at the end it was ugly. So I'm not saying it was just because of my age, but I think they didn't want people in their 50s going out there to do the interviews anymore, and you can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I would say over the years I have always gone to a lot of parties in New York. I try to go to less because I gain weight really easily. But to make a long story short, I've always been invited it started probably with Tiger Beat, was invited to a lot of events that were not just celebrity ones, but were brands. Like a lot of brands that catered to teens wanted to do contests and stuff with us, and a lot of beauty brands, right? So I started going to events for those things. And I did that always. But as time went by, I got, not that I'm less interested in music, but there's no opportunities to write about entertainment and get paid for it. I do know a couple people who do books and they're pretty successful and they write for the few remaining big magazines left, but I've never really written for anything big. No,
Mhm.
I'm not of that level. Um, there are also magazines that cater to the rap crowd as well, and I think maybe those do well. But so I'm going to tell you that over the years, I would say I got, I decided it would be fun to write about these brands and go to events. And there's a lot of things in New York for influencers for all kinds of brands: tech, food, beauty, fashion. And I just fell into it, you know. So, like I said, it started with doing contests probably with Maybelline at
Oh,
Tiger Beat, and then it kind of moved on. And I probably started to get assignments from Black women's magazines, so that's a little more sophisticated at the same companies I worked on teen magazines for. So I was able to go to parties for like better cosmetic brands. So that was good. So I also really like food, and I enjoy going to restaurant openings and reviewing restaurants.
I was going to
I
ask,
mean,
how did you get into the food side of writing? Because I've mostly done like music and entertainment since I started writing, but I want to get into food as well. I'm a foodie. I would love your insight on that. Do you just start going
okay.
to restaurants? Like,
Well, you can call the PR people for the restaurant and say you want a review. It's very hard to get paid to do that, though. I mean, even if you just say I can Instagram, I guarantee you could get some restaurants. My friends who are editors and freelance writers just DM different restaurants on Instagram and they're pretty lucky. I have only done that a few times when I was out of town, wanted some restaurants to go to just for my site, right? I'm not going to get paid for my site. The only payments I get are people who give me sponsored posts. So people will give me a story and then they pay me to be on the site.
mhm.
So otherwise, there's obviously no payment for my own site. Um, so basically, I can't advise you how to make money writing about food. There are some big sites like Eater. Um, I haven't really approached too many of them. So if you just don't care about making money and want to review restaurants, DM them or look up, do a search of the restaurant's name and the word publicist or press contact. Um, so I prefer not to DM and go to the publicist because I need art for the magazine that I write for. I need it to be high res. I need shots of the chef, interior, food shots. And if you just go to a restaurant and they turn out not to have PR, they will just give you low res shots off their site or the internet.
Mhm.
You need a professional. I also like send questions to the chef to answer. And, you know, I need a professional. But you know what? Sometimes some of these young PR people, they screw up. I've gone to review restaurants and they've given me a check. And then it took forever to clear it up.
Mm.
It's not, you know.
Mhm.
So all I can tell you, you could DM a few locally by you, go in, do some Instagram or quick blog post, just start your own food blog or whatever. And that's just how you do it now.
Hmm. I'll have to do that because I love food and I love writing. And I understand not getting paid for writing. I did a lot of freelance where, like, when you first start and you're like, I'll just write for anybody for the just to get my name out there. But then once you start getting paid, you're like, no, I don't want to do that. But since we're on the topic of food, which borough in New York City has the best restaurants?
Well, it's always going to be Manhattan. You
Is
know,
it the top tier?
yes. Now with pizza, my favorite place is in Brooklyn, and also New Jersey has great pizza. The pizza in Manhattan, not too many people are Italian making it. It's
Mm.
like if you go to Little Italy, there's no pizza places. and it's down to like 3 blocks. So
Mhm.
just sad. Like Chinatown took it over. So honestly, the best Italian food is in the Bronx, Little Italy, which they call the Fordham section of the Bronx. But best restaurants are in New York. There's incredible diversity. I've rarely ever had a meal that wasn't like blow away great. Um, and the thing is, it's astronomically expensive here to go out to eat. Now, I don't mean to sound like a cheapskate, but it's so common now for a steak to be over $100. And
Well,
it's not like a cowboy steak or something special, right? It's the normal cuts of steaks. That blows my mind. Like a cheap hamburger place like Jackson Hole, a plain hamburger is 22 with no fries.
I
I'm just like,
hate when
hell
they
no.
don't give
I
fries.
only eat out when I'm reviewing now. It's like ridiculous.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, New York's. Uh, I'm from California, so I'm biased that California is the best food, but New York is a solid number two for me of places I've been.
I've only been to LA and San Francisco, so I can't tell you in between, but both of those places are great too.
San Francisco in the Castro district, best French toast I've ever had for that. And then LA is just the Mexican food. I moved
I
to the
agree.
Midwest, so unfortunately the Mexican food is a little questionable once you leave California. But there's some pretty I'm in Columbus, Ohio now, and there's some pretty good restaurants. I found the best Indian place I've ever eaten here, so
Yeah, my uncle and aunt and cousins live in Columbus, and I've only gone there once when one of my cousins got married. And I didn't really remember eating in any restaurants when I was there. I can't remember. Nothing was memorable. I didn't go to any place fancy or anything like that, and that was like 25 years
oh,
ago.
it's we've got some good spots. There's some not so great spots, but if you ever come to Columbus, Cobb and Bexley, it's like next to Columbus. It's so good if you like Indian food.
I love Indian food.
It's even when you get it to go and take it home and like it's even good the next day. It's so good. Now I want to go there tonight, but I won't. 'Cause I just had it last week, and that place for Ohio is like the pricier side of Ohio. Um, so what are some new and exciting things that are coming up on Lux Life NYC that you might be reviewing or talking about?
Well, I always do like Easter or any kind of holiday guide. Like I'll work with a few different food brands, like luxury food brands, and include them in a guide. And then, for Christmas, I'll do a holiday gift guide. I have a lot of people reaching out to me every day with different products in lifestyle categories like fashion, food, whatever. I don't like most of it. Like you get all pitches for health food,
Mm.
things with cannabis in them. I
Mhm.
don't want to eat it. I don't want to eat it. Um I will take a gummy to sleep maybe, but I don't really think that food, like any sort of thing that would count as healthy or natural, usually not good.
I mean, yeah. You need the sugar, the salt, the fats.
So, I get pitched a lot of new brands. Some of the clothes are kind of like too young for me to personally like. I might put them in a Christmas gift guide, but like I don't really get pitched classic looking clothes that someone my age would wear. It's kind of like stuff rappers would wear or young kids or stuff like that. So I do occasionally get to go to events where there are a million different products of one theme together.
Mhm.
And I went to the Accessories Council. They did a Mother's Day press event yesterday, and they had about 30 brands.
Oh,
I
wow.
guess the best known one there was Naturalizer Shoes.
Mhm.
Um, and there were a lot of interesting shoe brands that were very like cutting edge. That tends to bring out people who are smaller designers trying to get their leg in the door, and so there's a lot of good stuff that's like handcrafted as well. But there are big brands that the Accessories Council has. Like I particularly like Alexis Bitar. If you look up them. They're famous for acrylic jewelry. There's a lot of clear jewelry, and I just love that. And they're a member of the Accessories Council as well. So I do get to go to it. It's now the best thing if you really love food, the best event of all time, and you could get a press badge very easily, but you have to come to New York or San Francisco. It's done on one coast in the winter and one coast in the summer. Is the Fancy Food Show. It's at the Javits Center in June, and I have to look up where they do it in San Francisco in December, but it's just like 500 aisles of samples from around the world. And I was asked to like be a judge of an Iberico ham
Oh.
contest. I'm going to call it a contest. It was sort of like you had to test it and say how you liked it. So things like that are fun. So
I love things like that. We used to
I'm
go to
pretty
foodie
open to a
con.
lot of things. Like everything on Lux Life NYC is not necessarily luxurious. Right, stuff anyone could afford for the most part. Some of the restaurants I go to are very high end, but in general, I'm not like running Chanel bags in my gift guides and things like that. It's not ridiculously unaffordable stuff.
Oh, cool. I love those food events. We used to go to foodie con in LA and we'd just be like, oh my God, it's like Costco, but all samples. And we had a dessert festival here in Columbus when we first moved here. That was really good. They gave you a plate and you just walked and got samples from each of the vendors. Oh, amazing.
We had Foodie Con here, and I don't know if that's one of the ones I went to. I went to one out on Randall's Island, but it was what they did is they elevated pre-existing junk food.
Oh.
So what they did is they had like Red Robin, whatchamacallit, the famous donut place. Oh, it's the one that's famous for the glazed donut that they have. Oh God,
Krispy Kreme?
sorry.
Is it Krispy Kreme or Dunkin'?
Yes. So what they did is everybody like had to do something fancy with their food. So like they had like caviar on like something from Red Robin. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a burger or
Oh.
chicken, but I mean like I'm just like taking that off. I'm like, hey, I don't eat that. But they kind of revved up everything. Everything was made into a funny shape, or it had something added that was fancy, like a special sauce. Or they had a cook that was famous come
Mhm.
and do a demo, and then they served it. So that was an interesting concept. But I can't say when you elevate these original foods that they're better. They're not.
I don't think a caviar burger sounds delightful for me, but maybe it's for somebody out there. Maybe one person would like it. Oh, and that's all I have to ask you. Can you remind people where they can find you online?
Yes, I am on Instagram. I'm at Ann_Raso. So that's ANNE_RASO. My site is luxlifenyc.com, and that's LUXE lifenyc.com. And then I'm a restaurant reviewer for New York Lifestyles. You really can only get the magazine here in New York, but the same articles are up on the site, and that is newyorklifestylesmagazine.com. So that is mainly what I'm up to now.
Well, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about Tiger Bee and food, which I love. And everyone, you can find all that information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it. Crushgasm is part of the I Did Not Make These Rankings podcast network, along with some other pretty cool shows, including An Evening at the Movies, Crime Rewind, Literature Reapers, Love is Black, Masturbators, Men Are the Prize, Season to Season, The Sip List, and Toontastic Journeys. You can go to idnmtrpodcastnetwork.com to find not only Crushgasm, but all of the aforementioned really cool podcasts. Alrighty.